The church bell reaches you before the sunlight does. It is the year 1325, somewhere in Western Europe, and you are awake on a cold morning in a village whose name will never appear in a royal chronicle. No dragon circles the roof. No armored knight rides past your door. The most immediate danger is much less dramatic. The fire has burned low, the room is chilly, and somebody beside you has taken more than a fair share of the blanket. This is usually the moment when a modern storyteller announces that you are about to experience the most disgusting day in human history. You will be told that everyone is filthy, every meal is gray, every street is an open sewer, every doctor is a cheerful murderer, and everyone over 30 is already waiting for death. It makes an entertaining nightmare. It is also a poor description of the Middle Ages. Life could be hard. Disease was dangerous. Harvest failure could become a catastrophe. Social rank shaped almost every opportunity. Childbirth, infection, warfare, and hunger carried risks that modern medicine and infrastructure have greatly reduced. None of that needs exaggeration. The real medieval world was difficult enough, but it was not one endless mud puddle inhabited by people who had forgotten how water worked. Before trying to survive a single day, you need to know whose day it is. The Middle Ages lasted roughly 1,000 years. A farmer in 11th century northern France did not live exactly like a cloth worker in 14th century Florence. A merchant in the Baltic towns had different food, laws, and weather from a shepherd in Castile, a noble household, a monastery, a city workshop, and a small tenant farm could exist within a few miles of one another while offering radically different experiences. So our day will be representative rather than universal. You belong to a modest rural household in the early 14th century, in a region with villages, market towns, parish churches, and a manorial system. Your family works land, keeps a few animals, produces much of what it uses, and exchanges labor or rent for access to fields and other rights. You are not enslaved, but neither are you entirely free to ignore local obligations. You possess things. You make choices. You argue, bargain, celebrate, and complain. You also live inside legal and economic structures built by people wealthier than you. You are about 22 years old. Contrary to a popular claim, this does not make you middle-aged. Life expectancy at birth was low, largely because so many children died young. A person who survived childhood could live into their 50s, 60s, or beyond. Although reaching old age was never guaranteed, you have likely known children who died. You may also know grandparents. Both realities can be true at the same time. Your home is not a windowless box shared permanently with a goat. It is probably a timber-framed or earth-walled structure with a thatched roof, depending on the region and local materials. It may contain one principal room, but there can be partitions, storage spaces, a loft, or a separate area for animals. Smoke from the hearth may escape through the roof, a vent, or an opening rather than a modern chimney. The air can become smoky. The floor may be packed earth. Rain is not welcome. Yet this is a maintained household, not an abandoned shed. Someone has repaired the roof. Someone has swept the floor. Someone has arranged tools, pots, benches, chests, and bedding according to habits learned over years. Even poor families tried to make homes functional and respectable. Archaeology keeps revealing a medieval world filled with pottery, metal fittings, knives, buckles, spindle whorls, gaming pieces, decorated objects, and evidence of repair. Ordinary people were not surrounded by luxury, but they were not indifferent to comfort or appearance. Your bed may indeed contain straw, chaff, wool, feathers, or layers of textiles. It may also be raised from the floor. A clean linen sheet, when a household can provide one, is valuable. Bedding is aired, shaken, patched, and replaced when possible because medieval people dislike fleas for the same reason you do. They do not regard insects as charming companions. They use combs, herbs, laundering, sweeping, and persistent irritation against them. The insects often win, but not because nobody notices the battle. The household begins to move. A child coughs. A pot is adjusted near the embers. Someone opens a shutter or door. A dog has already decided that morning is an excellent time to become involved in every activity. The day does not begin in cinematic misery. It begins in work. And that may be the greatest adjustment you need to make. Medieval life is not defined by constant agony. It is defined by effort. Almost everything you use requires somebody's time. Water must be carried. Grain must be grown, threshed, dried, stored, and ground. Cloth begins with flax or wool and passes through many hands before becoming a garment. Firewood does not arrive in a truck. Light after sunset costs fuel. A broken handle must be repaired rather than replaced by clicking a button. Your first challenge is therefore not avoiding immediate death. It is joining a household that cannot afford passengers for long. Before breakfast, before prayer, before the village is fully awake, there are tasks waiting. The Middle Ages have not canceled your life. They have made every ordinary part of it more labor-intensive. The first task is water. A nearby well, spring, stream, cistern, or conduit may supply the household. Which source you trust depends on local knowledge. People know that water can taste foul, smell wrong, or make drinkers ill, even though they do not understand bacteria. Good water is praised in medieval texts. Town governments spend money protecting fountains, repairing pipes, and regulating the places where waste may be dumped. Monasteries build sophisticated water systems because clean supply matters for drinking, kitchens, washing, gardens, infirmaries, and latrines. The claim that medieval people never drank water because everyone used ale instead is one of history's most durable tavern stories. Ale and wine are important. They provide calories, hospitality, pleasure, and sometimes a more reliable beverage when a local source is questionable. Weak ale can be part of everyday diets in some regions. Yet people also drink water whenever they consider it wholesome. Humans cannot maintain a continent for 1,000 years by treating ordinary hydration as a suspicious novelty. You carry a vessel to the source, waiting if neighbors arrived first. This is not merely a chore. It is also a social network with buckets. News travels here. So do rumors, disagreements, courtship, and observations about who appears unusually tired this morning. Privacy is limited, but information is plentiful. Back at the house, washing begins in modest stages. You do not climb into a private hot shower. You may rinse your face and hands from a basin. You may use a cloth. Hands are washed before meals in households that value manners, and elite dining rituals can make hand washing almost ceremonial. People clean visible dirt because visible dirt is unpleasant. They wash linen, comb hair, scrape nails, use herbs, apply scented waters, and visit bathhouses where those exist. Full bathing varies with place, wealth, season, and access to fuel. Heating enough water for a tub requires work, so a daily private bath is unlikely for an ordinary rural family. That does not mean bathing is feared everywhere or abandoned. Public bathhouses operate in many medieval towns. Medical writers discuss bathing as part of health. Moral authorities sometimes complain about mixed bathing, sexual behavior, or luxury, which is itself evidence that people are entering bathhouses often enough to cause concern. The idea that everyone believed water opened the pores and invited disease belongs more strongly to particular later debates than to the entire medieval millennium. Medieval attitudes are inconsistent because medieval people are inconsistent. One physician recommends a warm bath. One preacher worries that the bathhouse encourages sin. One worker simply wants the mud off before sleeping. None of them represents all Europe. You also clean your teeth, although not with a plastic brush and mint paste. Cloth, twigs, powders, salt, herbs, and rinses can be used. Medical texts include recipes for the mouth. Tooth decay exists, and an infected tooth can become life-threatening. But the average poor person's teeth are not automatically black by age 25. Before refined sugar became widely available, many people developed fewer sugar-driven cavities than later wealthy consumers. Coarse food and grit can wear teeth down. Dental calculus accumulates. Gums suffer. The mouth has problems. But it is not a row of theatrical tombstones by your first adult birthday. Then comes the latrine. Your household may use a pit, a privy, a chamber pot, a manure area, or a designated place away from clean water. In a town, there may be cesspits, drains, public latrines, private seats built over pits, or toilets projecting from larger buildings. Castles can contain garderobes that empty down shafts. Monasteries may have communal latrine blocks connected to flowing water. Sanitation is inadequate by modern standards. Waste contaminates streets and waterways. Cesspits overflow. But the image of every resident routinely throwing a bucket from the window while shouting a famous warning is too neat. Town authorities issue regulations about waste because they want it moved, contained, or taken to approved locations. People are fined for blocking drains or fouling water. Specialized workers remove filth from pits. Medieval government does not solve the problem, but it does not fail to notice that excrement in the doorway is bad for business. Today, however, your private concern is much simpler. The seat is cold. There is no toilet paper roll. Materials vary. Leaves, grass, hay, moss, scraps of cloth, wool waste, or water may be used. None offers the reassuring consistency of a modern bathroom product. This is one of the moments when your confidence in historical adventure may decline sharply. Still, the experience is not necessarily public theater. Families understand modesty, even if the architecture offers less of it. Screens, doors, distance, darkness, timing, and social etiquette provide whatever privacy circumstances allow. People do not lack embarrassment merely because their walls are thin. Waste itself can have value. Animal manure fertilizes fields. Human waste may also enter agricultural systems, though its collection and use vary. Ash from the hearth, kitchen scraps, straw, and dung become part of a household economy that throws away less because nearly everything required labor to obtain. By the time you return indoors, you have fetched water, cleaned yourself, and attended to a basic need. Nothing about it was luxurious. Some of it was inconvenient. Much of it depended on local conditions. But you have already disproved several dramatic claims before eating anything. That may become a pattern. The real Middle Ages are often less disgusting than the legend and more demanding than the legend knows how to explain. Clothing comes next, and here, the household's labor becomes visible. You do not own a wardrobe in the modern sense. Most ordinary people possess a limited number of garments, and every piece represents many hours of work. Wool must be sheared, sorted, cleaned, carded, spun, woven, fulled, cut, and sewn. Linen begins as flax that must be harvested, retted, broken, combed, spun, and woven before it ever touches the skin. A tunic is not cheap because a merchant has placed a fashionable label on it. It is costly because human hands have been involved at almost every stage. Your basic clothing is likely layered. Linen next to the body helps absorb sweat and protects outer garments. Over it comes wool, which can be surprisingly comfortable when properly processed. Medieval wool is not automatically the rough blanket material people imagine. Quality ranges from coarse, local cloth to fine, soft textiles traded across Europe. Color also varies. Browns and grays exist, but so do reds, blues, greens, yellows, and mixed shades produced from plant dyes, mineral substances, imported dyestuffs, and the natural colors of wool. Even modest people may own colored garments. Brightness depends on cost, dye quality, and repeated use. A village is not a parade of identical brown sacks. Medieval people care about appearance enough that rulers and town councils repeatedly attempt to regulate it. Laws tell certain groups which fabrics, colors, furs, or ornaments they may wear. Those laws are often difficult to enforce, which suggests that people enjoy dressing beyond the expectations assigned to them. You pull on a linen shirt or shift, then a woolen tunic or gown, hose, leggings, an apron, belt, hood, cloak, cap, or head covering may follow depending on your sex. occupation, season, and region. Clothing marks status, trade, marital condition, and respectability. It also provides pockets in a world before sewn-in pockets become common. Small objects hang from belts or travel in pouches. A knife is both tool and table utensil. Keys communicate responsibility. A rosary or devotional object expresses faith. A comb may be used more often than modern stereotypes permit. Garments are repaired constantly. A worn elbow receives a patch. A hem is turned. Cloth from an older garment becomes children's clothing, household rags, stuffing, or ties. Nothing is casually discarded because cloth is too valuable. A person can be poor and still work hard to appear neat. Clean linen matters socially. Freshness may be judged less by the frequency of immersion bathing than by washed undergarments, combed hair, clean hands, brushed outer clothing, and the control of odor with herbs or scented substances. Laundry is difficult, but not unknown. Water is hauled. Cloth is soaked, beaten, rubbed, rinsed, boiled when appropriate, or treated with soap, ash-derived solutions, and other cleaning agents. Professional laundresses work in towns and great households. Soap exists. It may be made from fat and alkaline substances, with regional traditions producing different types. The process can damage hands and fabric. It is work, not magic. Still, the statement that medieval people had no soap would surprise the people who made and sold it. Your shoes are leather, perhaps ankle-high and fastened with ties or buckles. They are not engineered athletic footwear, but neither are they folded scraps assembled by someone unfamiliar with feet. Shoemaking is a skilled trade. Soles wear quickly on rough ground. Repairs are common. Pattens, wooden or raised overshoes, can lift ordinary footwear above mud in towns. Rural laborers may go barefoot during some tasks and seasons, but universal barefoot misery is another exaggeration. On a wet morning, the roads remain a genuine problem. Paths become slick. Animal dung is common. Puddles conceal ruts. A careful person watches every step, not because the village is a continuous sewer, but because pre-modern transport produces mud with remarkable efficiency. Carts, hooves, rain, refuse, and poor drainage cooperate as if under contract. Your clothing protects you, identifies you, and occasionally restricts you. It can itch if poorly made. Wool becomes heavy when soaked. Linen takes time to dry. A cloak catches wind. Shoes leak. Yet people adapt garments to local weather and work. Agricultural clothing allows movement. Aprons protect expensive fabric. Hoods shelter the head and shoulders. Cloaks can double as blankets. Gloves and mittens exist. Straw hats block sun. Felt, fur, and layered wool fight cold. Fashion also creates inconvenience. Long-toed shoes, elaborate sleeves, tight garments, tall headdresses, and expensive belts appear among people who can afford to prioritize display over easy movement. Every century eventually invents an object that proves human beings will tolerate discomfort if everyone attractive is wearing it. You are not among the most extravagant. Your best garment is reserved for church, festivals, legal business, and major visits. Wearing it changes how you carry yourself. Clothing is one of the few ways an ordinary household can present dignity in public. A well-kept hood, a clean veil, a polished buckle, or carefully mended sleeve announces that poverty has not defeated order. This matters because medieval communities watch one another closely. Reputation affects credit, marriage, employment, and trust. Looking neglected can imply illness, disorder, or misfortune. Looking too prosperous can inspire gossip. The ideal is to appear respectable without inviting questions about where the money came from. Once dressed, you fasten your belt and prepare to eat. The clothes are not comfortable by modern standards. They are more sophisticated than the nightmare version suggests. They contain the work of shepherds, flax growers, spinners, dyers, weavers, fullers, tailors, cobblers, and members of your own family. Before the day has properly begun, you are already wearing an economy. Breakfast is not guaranteed to be a grand separate meal. Meal patterns vary with occupation, season, status, and region. Some people eat early because heavy labor requires fuel. Others wait until later, particularly on fasting days or in households where the main meal is taken near midday. The neat, modern pattern of breakfast, lunch, and dinner does not govern everyone. Today, there is bread, a little cheese, and ale. There may also be yesterday's pottage, warmed near the fire. This does not mean one cauldron has remained bubbling continuously since your great-grandmother was young. Pottage is a broad category, not a single immortal swamp. It can contain grains, peas, beans, onions, leeks, cabbage, herbs, dairy, fish, eggs, or meat, according to season and means. Some versions are thin. Others are nourishing enough to support hard labor. A household pot may be reused often, but food safety still depends on heating, storage, weather, and judgment. Bread is central. Its grain reflects landscape and wealth. Wheat produces desirable loaves in many regions, but rye, barley, oats, and mixed grains are common. The poorest bread can be coarse and dark. Better households consume finer grades. During crisis years, people stretch flour with legumes, acorns, or other substitutes. Sawdust and clay belong more naturally to stories of fraud or extreme desperation than to the normal daily loaf. The bread is not necessarily hard enough to defend a castle. Fresh loaves are baked in household ovens, communal ovens, or by professional bakers. Regulations often control loaf weight and price because bread matters politically. A baker who cheats customers can face public punishment. But most bakers prefer repeat business to becoming the main attraction in the marketplace. You tear off a piece and spread soft cheese across it. Dairy products are important to many rural diets. Milk is difficult to preserve, but butter, curds, whey, and cheese transform it into useful food. Archaeological residue from cooking pots has revealed combinations of meat, leafy vegetables, and dairy in peasant households that older stereotypes reduced to grain alone. The phrase white meat was sometimes used for dairy, a reminder that protein did not always arrive as a roast animal. Meat is not eaten in equal quantities by every household. Elite tables can display abundance with beef, pork, poultry, game, and elaborate sauces. Ordinary families protect livestock that produce milk, wool, eggs, traction, manure, or offspring. Slaughter is therefore strategic. Pork, mutton, bacon, poultry, and small amounts of meat can appear more often than the claim that peasants tasted flesh only a few days per year. Region, wealth, religious fasting, household animals, and market access all matter. Fish is especially important. Christian fasting rules restrict meat from warm-blooded animals on many days, but fish remains permitted. Rivers, ponds, coasts, and commercial networks supply fresh, salted, dried, or smoked varieties. Herring becomes a major trade commodity. Inland households may eat preserved fish that has traveled farther than anyone at the table ever will. Vegetables are not merely turnips arranged in different moods. Peas, beans, onions, leeks, cabbages, greens, garlic, herbs, parsnips, carrots of older varieties, and local plants enter kitchens. Gardens matter. Orchards provide apples, pears, plums, and nuts. Wild foods supplement cultivated ones. Berries, mushrooms, herbs, and gathered greens contribute flavor and nutrition, though knowledge is essential because the wrong plant can end the experiment permanently. Spices are expensive, but the conclusion that poor food has no flavor is mistaken. Local herbs, mustard, vinegar, onions, garlic, salt, souring agents, and smoke create strong tastes. Imported pepper is prestigious, but a meal does not become flavorless merely because it lacks cinnamon from another continent. Medieval cooks understand seasoning. They also understand that spoiled meat remains spoiled, despite the persistent modern myth that spices exist to conceal decay. Expensive spices are usually too valuable to waste on food already announcing its retirement. Your ale is weak by modern standards. It may be brewed in the household, often by women, or purchased from a local producer. Brewing creates a drink with calories and variable alcohol content. It is not automatically safer than every possible water source, and medieval children are not spending the morning intoxicated. Small ale can be mild. Water remains part of brewing, cooking, cleaning, and drinking. Wine dominates in regions where grapes thrive. Cider and other fermented drinks appear elsewhere. The meal follows the agricultural calendar. Spring can be lean when stored food dwindles before new crops mature. Summer brings dairy, greens, and hard work. Autumn offers harvest abundance and slaughter. Winter relies on preserved grain, legumes, salted meat, cheese, dried fruit, and whatever has survived storage without mold, rodents, or household disagreement. Food insecurity is real. Several poor harvests can raise prices beyond reach. The Great Famine that struck parts of Northern Europe in the early 14th century is still within living memory in our imagined year. Prolonged rain damaged crops. Livestock disease worsened the crisis. Malnutrition and mortality increased. A family that survived may now value every stored sack with an intensity no modern pantry can reproduce. Yet an ordinary day is not famine simply because famine is possible. Most people, most of the time, manage to eat. Medieval populations grow, towns expand, armies travel, cathedrals rise, and markets operate because agriculture produces surpluses. Though unevenly and at great human cost, you finish the bread. The cheese has a strong taste. The ale is slightly sour. It is not a luxurious breakfast, but it is not mud in a bowl. It contains carbohydrates, fat, protein, salt, and the accumulated skill of people who have learned to feed households without refrigeration. The food has not tested your courage. It has prepared you to spend the calories almost immediately. Work begins according to light, weather, season, and obligation, rather than a factory whistle. If it is a spring morning, fields need preparation, fences need repair, animals need attention, and seed must be protected. In summer, hay and grain create bursts of exhausting labor. Autumn demands harvesting, threshing, slaughter, brewing, and storage. Winter is not a long vacation. Tools are repaired, wood is cut, animals are fed, cloth is produced, grain is processed, and countless indoor tasks continue. Yet the pace changes. Agricultural work is uneven, with periods of intense effort and periods shaped by weather or shorter daylight. The claim that every peasant works from sunrise to sunset, 6 days every week of the year without meaningful rest, is too mechanical. Lords demand labor services in some manorial systems. Tenants cultivate their own holdings. Wage laborers are hired for particular tasks. Households mix farming, craft, trade, and seasonal employment. Sunday worship interrupts ordinary labor, though animals and urgent harvests ignore theology. The calendar also contains saints' days and festivals when routine work may pause or change. None of this creates a modern weekend. It does create a rhythm more complicated than endless punishment. Today you walk toward the fields with a tool over your shoulder. It may be iron-edged because medieval agriculture is not conducted entirely with wooden sticks. Iron is expensive, so metal is concentrated where it matters and repaired repeatedly. Plows vary according to soil. Heavy northern earth encourages large plows pulled by teams. Lighter soils can be worked with simpler equipment. Hoes, sickles, scythes, spades, forks, carts, harnesses, and mills form a technology adapted over generations. You do not farm alone. The open field system used in many regions divides arable land into strips. Households coordinate planting, grazing, and harvest. Shared pasture, woodland rights, and common resources support the village economy. Cooperation is not optional when several families depend on the same ox team or when a storm threatens cut hay. The Lord exists, but he does not necessarily stand at the edge of the field laughing while you collapse. He may live elsewhere and manage the estate through officials. A steward or reeve records rents, labor obligations, fines, and harvests with bureaucratic attention. The system can be exploitative, especially for unfree tenants whose movement, marriage, inheritance, or land transfers carry fees. Yet medieval peasants use courts, customs, collective pressure, and negotiation to defend what they believe are their rights. Manorial court records reveal ordinary people arguing over boundaries, debts, damaged crops, stray animals, brewing standards, blocked paths, and insults. They bring complaints against neighbors and occasionally against officials. The court is not equal. But neither is the peasant legally invisible. Custom has force, because everyone remembers how things were supposedly done before the current dispute began. Your household may owe rent in money, produce, labor, or a mixture. The old image of a single feudal pyramid, neatly descending from king to lord to knight to peasant, is useful for a classroom diagram and dangerous as a complete explanation. Rights overlap. A person can hold different lands under different conditions. Towns negotiate liberties. Churches own estates. Kings grant privileges. Nobles owe service. Villagers exploit ambiguity whenever ambiguity offers an advantage. For the next hours, the work is physical. You bend, lift, guide, pull, cut, carry, and walk. Your body is a tool exposed to repetitive strain. Skeletal remains show arthritis, healed fractures, spinal stress, and injuries associated with labor. Modern medicine might call some of your pain chronic. You call it your shoulder. But bodies are not universally broken by 25. Medieval people develop strength and skill. They learn efficient movements because wasting energy has consequences. A practiced reaper uses rhythm. A plow team communicates through voice and habit. A spinner works while watching children. A shepherd reads weather, animal behavior, pasture, and disease signs with expertise rarely preserved in written sources. Work also includes pauses. Food is brought or eaten in the field. People talk. Songs coordinate repetitive tasks. News is exchanged. A joke travels down a line of workers. Someone complains about the official measuring the grain. Someone else complains about the complainer. Human beings do not stop being social because the labor is hard. Children contribute according to age and household need. They guard animals, gather fuel, scare birds from crops, carry messages, collect plants, and learn skills by imitation. This can be demanding, but the statement that every 5-year-old is immediately assigned full adult labor ignores both capability and affection. Childhood is recognized, even though it is shorter, more work-filled, and more vulnerable than modern middle-class childhood. Women work in fields, dairies, gardens, kitchens, brewhouses, markets, workshops, and textile production. Men cook when circumstances require. Children tend animals. Older people perform tasks suited to experience and strength. Medieval labor has gender patterns, but survival repeatedly crosses tidy categories. By midday, your clothing is warm and your hands are dirty. If rain begins, plans change. If an animal becomes ill, plans change. If the Lord's official demands a particular service, plans change. Flexibility is one of the household's most important resources. There is no paid sick leave. An injury threatens income and harvest. Community support, kin, guild aid, charity, and the ability to redistribute tasks can make the difference between hardship and collapse. The household is not only a family residence, it is a production unit, welfare system, training institution, and small business held together by people who may love one another and still argue about who forgot to close the gate. The work is exhausting because much of it must be done by muscle. It is also skilled because survival punishes incompetence. Around midday, attention turns toward the household, and this is where one of the darkest modern caricatures begins to fall apart. A medieval woman is not legally or socially equal to a man. Her opportunities depend heavily on class, marital status, region, local custom, and family circumstances. Law often places wives under husband's authority. Political and religious writing commonly treats male rule as natural. Violence against women exists, and childbirth is dangerous. These realities should not be softened. They should also not be simplified into the claim that every girl's life is fixed at birth as marriage at 12, pregnancy at 14, silent obedience, and an early grave. Canon law can recognize 12 as the minimum age at which a girl may consent to marriage, and 14 for a boy. A legal minimum is not an average. Elite families sometimes arrange marriages early because land and inheritance are involved, but cohabitation and childbirth may be delayed. Among ordinary people in parts of Western Europe, many women marry later, often after years spent working in service or accumulating resources. Patterns vary widely across time and place. There is no single medieval marriage age. Your imagined household includes women whose work is essential to its survival. One manages dairy production and knows how much butter can be sold without leaving the family short. Another spins thread while supervising younger children. A widow nearby controls property inherited from her husband and negotiates with tenants. A young, unmarried woman may leave home to work as a servant in a town or on a larger farm, earning wages, meals, clothing, and experience before marriage. Women brew ale in many communities, especially at the small commercial scale. They sell food, cloth, candles, dairy products, and secondhand goods. They work as laundresses, midwives, healers, innkeepers, fish sellers, textile laborers, agricultural workers, and artisans. Guild rules can exclude or limit them, but widows may continue a husband's workshop, daughters learn trades, and women appear throughout urban records because economies cannot operate by pretending half the population is ornamental. Household management requires calculation. Grain must last until harvest. Seed must not be eaten. Rent dates must be remembered. Fuel, cloth, salt, livestock, brewing, repairs, and credit all interact. Literacy is helpful, but not always necessary. Tallies, memory, oral agreements, marks, witnesses, and practical numeracy keep business moving. Calling this merely housework hides the complexity. Pregnancy adds risk and labor rather than replacing labor. Midwives possess practical knowledge acquired through experience and apprenticeship. They recognize normal birth, use positions that may differ from the modern hospital bed, prepare cloths and warm water, and call for additional help when trouble develops. They cannot perform miracles. Hemorrhage, obstructed labor, infection, and eclampsia can kill. Yet childbirth is not automatically a helpless scene with one frightened neighbor and no accumulated knowledge. The claim that women with herbal knowledge are routinely accused of witchcraft belongs largely to later centuries and modern mythology. Medieval church courts do prosecute magic, heresy, and superstition, but the vast European witch hunts reached their greatest intensity in the early modern period after the conventional end of the Middle Ages. Midwives are not automatically suspected witches. Many are respected, licensed, supervised, or called as expert witnesses. Women also participate in religion beyond silent attendance. Noble women found religious houses and patronized churches. Nuns read copybooks, compose music, manage estates, educate girls, provide medical care, and correspond with rulers. Abbesses can wield substantial authority. Lay women join confraternities, organize charity, sponsor altars, make pilgrimages, and shape family devotion. None of this creates freedom in the modern sense. A woman who wants to leave a violent marriage has few options. Sexual reputation can determine her future. Wages are often lower than men's. Widows may gain legal independence only through loss. Noble women can control estates while husbands are absent, yet their marriages are often political arrangements made with limited consultation. Power appears in specific spaces and can disappear quickly. Class matters as much as gender. A peasant woman may choose a marriage partner more freely than a princess whose body carries diplomatic value. A wealthy widow may command servants and property that most men will never possess. A poor male laborer may hold legal privileges over his wife while remaining powerless before an estate official. Medieval hierarchy does not operate along one line. It is a net in which people can be dominant in one relationship and vulnerable in another. At the midday meal, everyone contributes. A woman portions food, but that does not mean she alone prepared it. A man may have brought fuel, a child gathered herbs, an older relative watched the pot. The household is full of uneven authority and shared dependence. You eat from wooden or earthenware bowls. Spoons are common. Knives are personal tools. Forks are limited in much of Western Europe and associated with particular regions or elite habits. Bread helps move food. Hands are used, ideally washed. Table manners exist, and instructional texts reveal what polite behavior requires, precisely because real diners sometimes fail. Do not reach across another person's dish. Do not put chewed food back into a shared bowl. Do not scratch yourself over the table. Do not wipe your nose on the cloth. Such advice has survived from the medieval world and proves two important facts. People value cleanliness, and somebody at dinner has made these rules necessary. Conversation moves from weather to rents, then to a neighbor's marriage. The women speak. They disagree. One knows the market price of wool better than anyone else present. Another remembers which official accepted payment last year. Their authority is not theoretical. It is produced by competence. If you arrived expecting medieval women to exist only as victims in the background, the household would correct you before the meal ended. They endure constraints that deserve honest attention. They also work, choose, negotiate, organize, create, and occasionally tell everyone else exactly what must happen next. After the meal, a teenager from the household leaves with a message for the market town. Watching him go reveals another modern mistake: the belief that medieval society has no meaningful idea of childhood. Medieval people do not use the modern social category, teenager. They do recognize stages of growth: law, medicine, education, religion, inheritance, and apprenticeship. All distinguish infants, children, youths, adults, and the elderly in different ways. Parents mourn children. Toys survive in archaeology. Manuscripts show children playing. Moral writers complain about youthful impulsiveness with the confidence of adults who have forgotten their own adolescence. A child is expected to contribute earlier than many children today, but contribution grows with ability. Small tasks teach household routines. Older children herd animals, gather fuel, assist with food preparation, spin, carry goods, or work beside adults. Play continues alongside labor. Balls, dolls, hoops, tops, hobby horses, whistles, knucklebones, board games, wrestling, swimming, and dangerous experiments all appear. The dangerous experiments require no historical explanation. Every century produces children who look at a wall and interpret it as a challenge. Some boys and girls attend schools: cathedral, monastic, parish, chantry, municipal, and private schools serve different populations. Education is unequal, and most rural people are not reading Latin books. Yet literacy is not confined to a handful of monks. Clerks, merchants, artisans, officials, some women, and members of religious communities read or write to varying degrees. Literacy itself has levels. A person may read a devotional text, but not compose a legal document. Another may sign, count, recognize common formulas, or rely on a professional scribe. Latin dominates learned institutions, while vernacular languages increasingly appear in literature, business, devotion, and administration. Universities in cities such as Bologna, Paris, and Oxford attract students who study law, theology, medicine, and the arts. These institutions are not peaceful collections of elderly scholars. Many students are young men with legal privileges, strong opinions, and access to drink. Town and gown conflicts become so serious that university history occasionally reads like an argument between a library and a tavern. Most ordinary youths learn through service or apprenticeship. A child may leave home to live in another household. This is not always abandonment. Sending young people into service can provide training, food, wages, discipline, and social connections. It also removes a worker from the birth household, so families make these decisions according to resources and opportunity. An apprentice enters a formal or informal arrangement with a master. In a town, a written contract may define the term payment behavior, and responsibilities. The master provides training, food, lodging, and supervision. The apprentice owes work and obedience. A good placement creates a path toward skilled employment. A bad one can become exploitation inside a house from which leaving is legally difficult. Young women also enter service and trades, although guild structures may favor men. A girl can learn brewing, textile production, food preparation, retail, household management, or a specialized craft. In some towns, women dominate particular stages of cloth production. Their work may be hidden in records because it is paid through households or described differently from men's. The teenager carrying your message has more freedom than a small child and less than an established adult. His reputation is being formed. A fight, theft, sexual scandal, or broken contract can follow him. So can evidence of reliability. Medieval communities are dense networks of memory. People know whose father failed to repay a loan and whose daughter managed a difficult birth. Personal history is stored in human conversation. Marriage is one route into adulthood, but not the only one. Completing an apprenticeship, inheriting land, entering religious life, becoming a household servant, or establishing independent income can change a person's status. Ages are flexible because adulthood is partly economic. A married 17-year-old managing a small holding may be treated as an adult in ways that an unmarried 25-year-old servant is not. Young people flirt, dance, exchange gifts, write songs, and create problems. Church courts record promises of marriage because, in medieval canon law, mutual consent can make a valid union even without an elaborate ceremony, though public solemnization is strongly encouraged. This gives young couples a degree of agency and creates astonishing legal confusion when one person later denies the promise. A private exchange of consent can therefore be romantic, binding, and an excellent way to make several families extremely angry. The risks of youth are real. Accidents kill. Infectious disease strikes children especially hard. Malnutrition can limit growth. Abuse occurs inside families and workplaces, but affection is also visible. Parents make wills for children's care. Adults purchase toys, arrange education, pray for sick sons and daughters, and preserve memories of those who die. Medieval childhood is not modern childhood, but it is not an emotional vacuum. You pass a group of children chasing one another near the green. One carries a stick as a sword. Another insists that a stone marks the boundary of an invisible kingdom. A smaller child is crying because the rules changed at the exact moment she began winning. Nothing about the scene seems remote. The clothing is different. The legal expectations are different. The danger is greater. The basic politics of childhood remain immediately recognizable. The road to the market town changes the scale of your world. A village is not isolated in the absolute sense. People travel to markets, courts, mills, churches, fairs, shrines, neighboring settlements, and seasonal work. Marriage brings newcomers. Peddlers carry small goods. Officials arrive with demands. News moves more slowly than it does today, but it moves constantly through people. The town announces itself through sound before architecture. Bells, carts, animals, hammers, vendors, and conversation merge into a steady noise. Its streets may be paved in important sections or simply compacted earth. Drainage channels run along edges. Upper stories project over narrow lanes. Workshops open directly toward customers. Signs display goods, smells, and occupational districts help visitors navigate. The smell is powerful. Tanneries, butcher stalls, fish markets, ovens, animals, smoke, breweries, dung, and crowded bodies all contribute. This does not mean every town is uniformly buried in waste. Municipal authorities regulate trades that create danger or odor. Butchers may be ordered to dispose of offal in particular places. Tanners and dyers may be pushed toward water or city edges. Residents can be required to clean the street outside their property. Enforcement is inconsistent, and population growth overwhelms infrastructure. But civic concern about sanitation is unmistakable. Clean water becomes a public issue. Wells and conduits are protected because contamination creates conflict. Wealthy donors fund fountains as acts of charity and reputation. Water carriers sell delivery. In some cities, long systems of pipes bring spring water inside walls. In others, residents depend on rivers whose quality changes by neighborhood and season. People distinguish between water suitable for drinking, washing, brewing, or industrial work. The market is regulated with an intensity that would satisfy anyone who enjoys official weights. Bread, ale, meat, fish, cloth, candles, and other essentials can be inspected. Officials check measures. Prices may be set or influenced during scarcity. Fraud remains common because regulation exists wherever fraud has become common enough to inspire it. You bring a small quantity of produce, thread, eggs, cheese, or another household surplus to exchange. Coin is present, but not every transaction requires it. Credit is normal. Neighbors record debts mentally or through marks and written accounts. Trust makes trade possible, while courts wait for trust to fail. The range of goods surprises visitors who imagine medieval life as entirely local. Salt travels, fish travels, wine travels. Wool and cloth move across seas. Spices, pigments, metal, timber, wax, leather, pottery, and luxury objects connect European towns to the Mediterranean, Africa, Asia, and northern trade routes. An ordinary person cannot afford everything on display, but the market makes distant worlds visible. Craft production fills the streets. A blacksmith does more than produce swords. Nails, hinges, tools, horseshoes, fittings, and repairs keep daily life functioning. Coopers make barrels for liquids and storage. Potters create cooking and table vessels. Fullers clean and thicken woolen cloth through labor that can be wet, smelly, and essential. Dyers control expensive materials and guarded recipes. Bakers manage heat before dawn. Masons, carpenters, glaziers, and laborers turn wealth into buildings. Guilds organize parts of this work. They regulate training, quality, membership, charity, worship, and social identity, though their power varies by town and period. A guild can support a sick member, bury the dead, care for widows, sponsor a religious procession, and prevent outsiders from competing. It is a welfare network and a cartel with a patron saint. The town offers opportunity along with danger. Wage work can free a person from some rural obligations. Markets create customers. Courts and churches require clerks. Large households need servants. Construction projects employ migrants, yet rent is higher. Food must often be purchased. Fire spreads quickly, and disease thrives where people live close together. Fire is among the greatest fears. Timber, thatch, open flames, ovens, workshops, and wind form a terrible partnership. Town rules regulate hearths, chimneys, storage, and nighttime flames. Buckets and hooks may be organized for emergencies. Bells summon help. A single accident can destroy a street before anyone has time to debate responsibility. Crime exists, but the town is not a lawless arena where any noble may strike anyone without consequence. Watches patrol at night. Gates control movement. Courts hear theft, assault, debt, and property cases. Neighborhoods participate in maintaining order. Victims seek compensation. Violence can be high by modern standards in some places, especially among young men. But most daily interactions rely on predictable rules. Trade cannot function if every purchase ends in a duel. You stop at a stall to inspect a buckle that costs more than it should. The seller explains its quality at length. You explain your poverty at greater length. Bargaining becomes performance. Neither side expects the first number to survive. Nearby, a pilgrim asks for directions. A student argues in Latin. A servant hurries with a basket. A friar preaches, while children drift toward whichever part of the square promises entertainment. The town contains more strangers than your village, and anonymity is both attractive and dangerous. Here, a person can find work without being known from birth. Here, a person can also disappear. By afternoon, you have sold what you brought and purchased salt, a small iron item, or cloth that cannot be produced efficiently at home. The exchange reminds you that medieval households are not sealed survival units. They participate in markets, specialize, borrow, invest, and respond to prices. The Middle Ages are rural, but not static. The market town is proof that ordinary life already depends on movement, information, and people you will never meet. Before leaving town, the church bell calls people toward prayer. Religion is not a separate weekend interest. It shapes the calendar, law, art, charity, education, political legitimacy, food, marriage, death, and the way people explain misfortune. The parish church is a spiritual center and a public landmark. Its bells announce worship, danger, funerals, festivals, and time. Its yard holds generations of the community. Its walls preserve gifts, disputes, repairs, and memories. You enter because attendance matters, but also because the building belongs to the emotional landscape of your life. Here, children are baptized, couples marry, the dead are buried, oaths are sworn, announcements are made, neighbors gather. The church is not merely an institution controlling belief from far away. It is also the place where a village sees itself assembled. The service is conducted largely in Latin. In Western Christendom, many lay people do not understand every word, but they recognize structure, gestures, sounds, images, and familiar prayers. Religion is learned through hearing, seeing, repetition, festivals, sermons, drama, objects, and family practice. The idea that people understand nothing because they cannot read a Latin Bible confuses literacy with participation. They know stories from Scripture and saints' lives, paintings, stained glass, carvings, processions, songs, and preaching make narratives visible. Vernacular religious texts circulate increasingly. Some lay people own books of hours or other devotional works, especially in wealthier households. Others remember prayers without reading them. Knowledge is uneven, but faith is not simply passive dependence on one priest's translation. The priest himself may be learned, competent, lazy, sincere, ambitious, poor, or some combination. Medieval critics complain about ignorant and corrupt clergy because reform is a continuous concern. They also praise priests who serve communities faithfully. The church contains scholars, mystics, administrators, hospital workers, landlords, artists, diplomats, and ordinary parish clergy. Treating it as one personality produces history as subtle as a stage villain. Tithes and church dues can burden households. Monasteries and bishops own land. Ecclesiastical courts regulate marriage and morality. Religious authority can punish dissent. Heresy prosecutions become severe in certain times and regions. None of this should be romanticized. Yet the church also organizes charity, hospitals, poor relief, education, hospitality, and care for travelers. Monasteries preserve books and manage large estates, sometimes harshly and sometimes efficiently. Confraternities provide mutual aid. Religious houses feed visitors. Parish funds support lights, repairs, festivals, and assistance. Medieval welfare is inconsistent and shaped by spiritual goals, but it is not absent. The calendar creates rest as well as obligation. Sundays and numerous feast days interrupt ordinary work. The number of days free from labor is difficult to calculate because local practice, urgent tasks, and employer demands vary. Still, religious celebration prevents the year from becoming a featureless line of workdays. A major feast transforms food, clothing, music, and public space. Processions move through streets. Guilds display identity. Ale flows. Games begin. People dance, gamble, flirt, argue, and occasionally create exactly the kind of disorder preachers predicted. Joy is not considered automatically sinful. Medieval Christianity warns against excess, but it also blesses weddings, feasts, music, and communal celebration. Fasting makes the calendar physically present. On designated days, diets change. Meat restrictions increase demand for fish. Wealthy kitchens devise elaborate substitutes. Poor households may discover that religious discipline looks suspiciously similar to what they were already eating. Rules are followed, negotiated, ignored, or reinterpreted as human beings apply them. Fear of hell is real. Images and sermons can be vivid. So are hope, forgiveness, intercession, heaven, resurrection, and the protection of saints. Medieval religion is not a machine designed only to frighten peasants. It offers explanations for suffering, rituals for grief, promises of justice, and relationships with sacred figures understood as active participants in life. You may pray for rain, recovery, safe childbirth, protection during travel, or the soul of a relative. A saint's shrine offers a place where desperate people act when medicine has failed. Pilgrimage combines devotion, movement, danger, trade, tourism, and storytelling. The motives are as mixed as the travelers. Confession can be intimidating. It can also provide a rare, structured opportunity to speak about guilt, fear, anger, and conflict. Penance may involve prayer, fasting, restitution, or pilgrimage. The system is theological rather than psychological, yet it recognizes that private wrongdoing can damage both a person and a community. The parish also enforces reputation. Missing worship attracts notice. Sexual behavior, marriage promises, wills, and disputes enter ecclesiastical courts. Neighbors testify. The result can feel invasive because it is invasive. A society with limited privacy extends moral supervision through familiar faces. Still, ordinary people are not puppets. They complain about priests, resist dues, bargain over repairs, choose devotions, make bequests, join movements, visit unofficial holy people, and interpret religious teaching through local traditions. Faith is imposed from above and built from below at the same time. As you stand among neighbors, the bell's echo fades into the stone. A candle burns near an image darkened by years of smoke. Someone prays for a sick child. Someone else calculates whether the service will end before the market closes. Both are participating honestly in the same medieval moment. Religion governs much of life. It also gives life language for gratitude, fear, memory, and hope. On the road home, you hear that a neighbor has injured his hand. This is where the medieval nightmare usually introduces a barber with a rusty knife and unlimited enthusiasm. The reality is more varied and more interesting. Medieval medicine draws from several overlapping traditions. University-trained physicians study texts associated with Hippocrates, Galen, Arabic medical writers, and later commentators. Surgeons treat wounds, fractures, abscesses, and visible conditions. Apothecaries prepare drugs. Barbers may perform bloodletting and minor procedures in some places. Midwives attend births. Monks, nuns, household healers, wise neighbors, and experienced family members provide care. A patient may move between all of them. The four humors form an influential medical framework. Blood, phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile are linked to qualities such as hot, cold, wet, and dry. Health is imagined as balance shaped by age, season, diet, sleep, exercise, emotion, and environment. The theory is wrong by modern biological standards. It is not random. It gives practitioners a system for observing patterns and adapting treatment to the individual. A physician may inspect urine, but not because urine is the only object he understands. Color, sediment, quantity, smell, pulse, fever, appetite, pain, sleep, stool, complexion, and patient history all enter diagnosis. Uroscopy becomes so famous that the urine flask functions almost like a professional logo. Some practitioners abuse it. Satirists mock doctors who claim to diagnose everything from a bottle without seeing the patient. Medieval people can be skeptical of medieval medicine. Treatment often begins with regimen rather than cutting. Advice concerns food, drink, air, exercise, rest, sleep, evacuation, and emotional balance. A wealthy patient may be told to adjust meals, bathe, walk, listen to music, avoid anger, or move to a healthier environment. A poor laborer may hear the same advice and quietly wonder who will perform the harvest during his restorative vacation. Herbal remedies range from useful to useless to dangerous. Willow contains compounds related to later pain medicine. Honey can help protect some wounds. Certain plants soothe digestion or act as laxatives. Others contain potent chemicals that require careful dosing. A recipe's effectiveness depends on species, preparation, quantity, contamination, and the actual illness. The word natural does not guarantee mercy. Surgery is not conducted with knowledge of germ theory, yet practitioners develop methods through experience. They clean wounds with wine, vinegar, water, or other preparations. They remove foreign objects, drain abscesses, stitch tissue, set bones, reduce dislocations, treat cataracts, and amputate when necessary. Some medical authors advise against probing wounds excessively. Others debate whether pus is desirable. Practice evolves because observation challenges inherited authority. Though slowly, pain relief exists, but is unreliable. Alcohol, opium-derived substances, mandrake, henbane, and mixtures sometimes called sleeping sponges may be used. Doses are difficult to control. A patient can remain awake, become dangerously sedated, or fail to wake at all. Many procedures are performed with restraint, speed, prayer, and an audience trying not to faint. Bloodletting is common enough to deserve its reputation, but not every symptom automatically leads to a basin. Practitioners choose veins and timing according to theory. Monastic communities may schedule routine bleeding days. The procedure can sometimes reduce dangerous pressure in specific conditions, but often weakens patients who need strength. Repetition may turn illness into a collaboration between disease and treatment. Hospitals exist. They do not resemble modern institutions with laboratories and specialist wards. Many are charitable houses offering food, shelter, nursing, prayer, and care for the poor, elderly, pilgrims, or chronically ill. Some separate categories of patients. In Islamic cities, major hospitals develop sophisticated administration, pharmacies, teaching, and clinical practice, and their medical scholarship enters Latin Europe through translation. The medieval medical world is connected across religious and linguistic boundaries, despite warfare and prejudice. Leprosy hospitals serve people diagnosed with conditions grouped under a broad medieval category that does not always correspond to modern Hansen's disease. Separation can be harsh, but residents may possess property, participate in community, and receive structured support. Again, institutions differ. The past resists one emotional tone. Your injured neighbor has cut his palm with a tool. The wound is washed. Debris is removed. A cloth dressing is applied with a substance believed to protect it. He is advised to rest the hand. The greatest danger is infection, a word understood through symptoms rather than microbes. If redness spreads, fever rises, or tissue dies, the options narrow quickly. This is the line separating your world from his. Modern antibiotics, vaccination, imaging, anesthesia, sterile surgery, and emergency systems have transformed injuries that once killed without drama. Medieval care can be intelligent and compassionate. It cannot reliably control bacteria. It cannot see. That limitation shapes behavior. People fear wounds. They protect tools. They pray after accidents. They examine healing carefully. Survivors carry scars, altered movement, and memories of pain. The healer is not necessarily a fraud. The patient is not necessarily foolish. Both work inside a model of the body that contains serious errors and practical insights. Success strengthens confidence in the system. Failure can be blamed on severity, timing, fate, sin, stars, or the wrong treatment. Your neighbor may recover because the cut is cleaned and his immune system succeeds. He may worsen despite everyone's effort. Medicine offers possibility, not certainty. In the Middle Ages, surviving the cure is sometimes a challenge. More often, the deeper challenge is reaching a cure powerful enough to matter. A cut hand is dangerous, but the illnesses most likely to shape your life do not arrive with a dramatic weapon. They arrive through water, food, breath, insects, childbirth, animals, and wounds too small to remember. Medieval people recognize contagion imperfectly. They isolate some sick individuals, avoid corrupted places, burn or fumigate objects, regulate burials, and flee epidemics when they can. They also explain disease through humors, bad air, divine judgment, astrology, poison, or moral disorder. Several explanations may coexist without anyone demanding that only one be true. The Black Death has not yet reached Western Europe in our year 1325. It will arrive in the late 1340s and kill an enormous share of the population across Europe, North Africa, and Asia. People living now cannot prepare for it because they do not know the bacterium, its animal reservoirs, or the complex roles of fleas and human transmission. When plague comes, familiar systems of care and burial will be overwhelmed. But plague is not the only disease. Dysentery, tuberculosis, respiratory infections, malaria in suitable environments, intestinal parasites, smallpox, measles, influenza, like illnesses, skin infections, and many other conditions circulate. Names and records do not always map neatly onto modern diagnoses. A chronic cough may have several causes. A fever is a symptom, not a disease, though historical sources often cannot take us further. Infant and child mortality is high. This is the central fact behind low life expectancy at birth. A family may lose several children and still form profound emotional bonds with each one. Grief appears in prayers, inscriptions, wills, letters, and the care taken in burial. Repeated loss does not make parents indifferent. It makes joy vulnerable. Adults also face nutritional stress. Teeth and bones preserve evidence of childhood hardship, anemia, infection, and labor. Yet skeletal remains also show healing. Fractures knit. People survive serious injuries. Individuals with disabilities live for years, sometimes decades, which means somebody feeds, houses, or assists them. Care leaves an archaeological signature of its own. Dental health deserves special attention because it reveals both advantage and danger. Without modern dentistry, cavities, abscesses, gum disease, wear, and tooth loss cause pain. Coarse flour can contain tiny stone particles from milling that grind enamel over time. Using teeth as tools adds damage. Tobacco does not yet exist in Europe, and refined sugar is not a mass food that can reduce some forms of decay compared with later populations, though honey, fruit, and starch still support oral bacteria. People attempt treatment. Loose or painful teeth are extracted. Worms are sometimes blamed for toothache, an ancient theory found across cultures. Herbs, cautery, rinses, charms, and prayer are used. A skilled extractor can provide relief. An unskilled one can fracture the jaw, tear tissue, or leave roots behind. Infection can spread from tooth to face, neck, blood, and brain with no antibiotic rescue. Vision creates another quiet disability. Reading, sewing, carving, and close work become harder with age. Convex lenses appear in Europe by the late 13th century and develop into spectacles for some literate and wealthy users. They are not available to everyone, but their existence complicates the idea that medieval technology simply stops. Hearing loss, arthritis, chronic pain, hernias, and old injuries accumulate. People adapt tools, work roles, and household tasks. An older person may contribute knowledge, supervision, childcare, spinning, food preparation, trade, or legal memory rather than heavy field labor. Age is not a single number. A healthy 60-year-old can be valuable precisely because so many experiences have become embodied expertise. Mental and emotional distress are also recognized, though not categorized through modern psychiatry. Melancholy can include fear, sadness, withdrawal, and obsessive thought. Religious writers describe despair, restlessness, grief, and intrusive temptation. Treatments may include companionship, music, diet, sleep, prayer, confession, travel, storytelling, medicine, or restraint. Care can be compassionate. It can also be coercive or frightening when behavior is poorly understood. The household is the first hospital for most people. Family members prepare food, wash linen, sit through fever, change dressings, fetch healers, and decide when a condition has exceeded local knowledge. This unpaid care, much of it performed by women, sustains the population more than spectacular surgery does. Community action matters during crisis. Neighbors bring food. Guilds support members. Religious institutions offer beds or alms. Towns hire physicians during epidemics or regulate waste. Wealthy people can leave crowded places, purchase rare drugs, or employ attendants. Poor people cannot. Disease is biological, but exposure and survival are shaped by class. You reach home and learn that the injured neighbor's bleeding has stopped. Everyone treats this as good news, without assuming the danger is gone. The dressing will be changed. The wound will be watched. Work will be redistributed. A cousin complains about taking an extra task, then takes it anyway. That small adjustment is the real medical system at work, not the university lecture, not the astrological chart, not the dramatic blade. A network of ordinary people notices when one body can no longer carry its usual share and rearranges life around the weakness. As evening approaches, an official arrives with news that two men fought near the mill. This provides the perfect opportunity to test another legend: medieval justice as an endless festival of mutilation. Violence is a serious part of medieval life. Homicide rates in some communities are much higher than in modern Western Europe. Weapons are common tools as well as status objects. Feuds, drunken fights, political conflict, warfare, robbery, and domestic abuse create real danger. State power is weaker and less uniform than it is today. Yet most disputes do not end with a severed hand. Local courts process an extraordinary range of ordinary conflicts: debts, trespass, inheritance, damaged crops, broken contracts, insults, assault, theft, brewing violations, and wandering animals generate testimony and fines. Compensation matters because communities need conflict to end. A dead or mutilated neighbor cannot repay a debt, complete the harvest, or repair the fence he damaged. Punishment depends on jurisdiction, status, offense, and period. Fines are common. Public shame, imprisonment, compensation, outlawry, confiscation, whipping, mutilation, and execution all exist, but not at equal frequency. Prisons are used more often for detention, coercion, or people awaiting judgment than as the universal long-term sentence familiar today. Keeping a prisoner alive is expensive. Medieval institutions prefer penalties that transfer money, restore peace, display authority, or remove a dangerous person. Trial by ordeal belongs mainly to earlier medieval legal practice and declined sharply in Western Europe after the Church withdrew clerical participation in 1215. In our early 14th century setting, a person is not likely to prove innocence by carrying hot iron while officials wait to see whether a burn heals. Jury-like procedures, sworn testimony, inquests, documentary evidence, confession, local reputation, and judicial investigation have become more important. Those systems differ greatly. Torture exists, especially in certain inquisitorial legal systems and political cases, but it is not the automatic method for every accusation. Medieval jurists worry about false confession, even when they permit coercion. English common law procedure, for example, develops differently from continental Roman law traditions. A sentence beginning with "in the Middle Ages, they always," is usually preparing to become inaccurate. The famous punishments require chronological caution. The scold's bridle is mainly associated with the early modern period rather than the central medieval world. Large-scale witch hunting also belongs primarily to the 15th through 17th centuries, with its most intense waves after the Middle Ages. Medieval people prosecute harmful magic and heresy, but they do not spend the entire era drowning outspoken herbalists. Execution is public because authority wants the message seen. Hanging is common for serious theft and felony in some kingdoms. Beheading can be associated with higher status. Burning is used for particular religious or legal crimes. The spectacle is intended to terrify, shame, and confirm order. Crowds attend for mixed reasons: obligation, curiosity, fear, entertainment, devotion, and the simple fact that an unusual event has interrupted daily life. Justice is deeply unequal. Wealth buys counsel, influence, delay, and better treatment. Nobles possess privileges. Women face disadvantages. Outsiders and minorities may be vulnerable to prejudice. Torture and cruel punishment are real, but law also constrains power. Charters, customs, oaths, corporate privileges, and procedures create expectations that rulers can violate but cannot ignore without cost. The two men near the mill have injured one another over an argument about access and an insult involving a family member. Witnesses disagree about who struck first. One claims the other carried a staff. The other explains that the staff was for walking, which may be true in the same way a kitchen knife is for cutting bread during an argument. Their families want peace before the dispute expands. Friends intervene. The court may impose fines, demand sureties for good behavior, or arrange compensation. Public reconciliation can matter more than discovering an objective sequence of every blow. Medieval justice often aims to restore a workable community because the participants must continue living beside one another. This also shapes domestic violence. Though not always justly, law can recognize a husband's authority while limiting extreme injury. Neighbors intervene when noise, visible wounds, or danger cross local thresholds. Women bring complaints to courts, seek separation in ecclesiastical cases, mobilize kin, or use reputation against abusive men. None of these options guarantees safety. They do show that violence is contested rather than universally accepted as ordinary discipline. Warfare creates a different scale of danger. Most peasants do not wake each morning under attack. Campaigns are seasonal, regional, and politically specific. But armies consume food, requisition transport, spread disease, destroy crops, and target civilians. Even when battle occurs elsewhere, taxation and supply demands reach villages. A soldier may be a noble retainer, mercenary, levy, archer, town militia member, or professional in royal service. The category is changing across centuries. Banditry and raiding rise where government weakens. Fortified towns, castles, watch systems, and communal defense respond to this uncertainty. Travelers join groups, carry weapons, plan routes, and seek lodging before dark. Safety is managed, not assumed. The official finishes collecting statements. Nobody loses a tongue. Nobody is thrown into a river. Nobody has brought snacks to an execution. Instead, several adults spend an hour describing the same fight in mutually incompatible ways. This may be the most historically persistent feature of justice. The light is fading, and temperature now becomes the household's main concern. Weather is not simply background. It determines labor, food, travel, disease, fuel, and whether a roof repair can wait. Medieval Europe experiences long-term climatic shifts as well as local extremes. The early 14th century includes years of severe rain and harvest failure in northern regions. A cold season can kill livestock, block roads, and consume stores faster than expected. A wet summer can be more frightening than a dramatic winter because grain needs dry conditions at the right moment. Your house has no central heating, but it is designed by people who understand local weather. Thick earth walls, timber, thatch, shutters, low ceilings, shared space, textiles, and animals can help retain warmth. The hearth remains central. It provides heat, light, cooking, smoke, sparks, and endless small arguments about fuel. Firewood may come from household rights in common woodland, purchased loads, managed coppice, hedges, fallen branches, peat, charcoal, or other regional sources. Forest law can restrict hunting and resource use, especially in royal forests. But the claim that picking up the wrong stick routinely leads to execution is theatrical nonsense. Rights are regulated, Fines and disputes occur, and serious poaching can become dangerous. Ordinary fuel gathering is not automatically a capital adventure. Coppicing shows how carefully woodland can be managed. Trees are cut near the base and allowed to regrow multiple stems, producing regular supplies of poles and fuel. Medieval landscapes are not untouched wilderness surrounding tiny settlements. They are worked environments shaped by grazing, woodcutting, drainage, mills, fish ponds, roads, fields, orchards, and rites remembered with almost religious intensity. Inside the home, smoke can irritate eyes and lungs. A chimney may exist in wealthier or later houses, while simpler buildings rely on vents and roof openings. Soot accumulates. Sparks threaten thatch. Household members learn where smoke gathers and how wind changes the draft. A modern visitor might cough immediately. The people living here also cough. Familiarity does not make smoke healthy. In winter, clothing and bedding do much of the heating. People cluster around the fire, use curtains, share beds, warm stones, wear caps indoors, and arrange work close to light. Shared sleeping is normal and can provide heat, security, and a complete absence of mystery about who snores. Cold injuries occur, but frostbite is not an inevitable seasonal companion for every peasant. The greater danger may be a combination of damp, malnutrition, respiratory illness, and inadequate fuel. A wealthy household burns more wood, owns more textiles, and eats better. Climate is experienced through class. Summer brings different problems. Heavy labor in heat can exhaust. Flies multiply. Food spoils quickly. Water sources shrink or become contaminated. Clothing is adjusted through lighter fabric, fewer layers, rolled sleeves during work, shade, hats, and scheduling. The idea that modesty requires everyone to remain wrapped in the same winter wool under the summer sun ignores common sense and the evidence of seasonal garments. Fields can offer shade only reluctantly. Work may begin early, pause during the worst heat, and continue later, depending on local custom and task. Hydration comes from water, ale, dairy drinks, or wine. Salt matters. So does rest, though harvest urgency can overrule the body until someone collapses. Weather prediction relies on observation, tradition, and religious interpretation. Cloud forms, winds, animal behavior, saints' days, lunar ideas, and remembered sayings all contribute. Some predictions contain generations of practical knowledge. Others are confident nonsense. This combination also remains familiar. Storms terrify because lightning can ignite roofs and hail can destroy crops in minutes. Bells may be rung against storms. Prayers and processions ask divine protection. Communities also repair banks, clear channels, maintain seawalls, or organize drainage. Spiritual action and engineering are not mutually exclusive. People pray while carrying shovels. The landscape around you contains hazards that modern infrastructure hides. Rivers flood without warning systems. Roads become impassable. Bridges fail. Snow isolates settlements. A journey planned in hours becomes a night outdoors. Travelers read daylight carefully because darkness and weather can turn inconvenience into death. Yet seasons also organize pleasure. Spring brings flowers, new dairy, and outdoor gatherings. Summer means long evenings. Autumn offers harvest feasts, fresh meat, fruit, and ale. Winter brings storytelling, indoor crafts, games, and religious celebration. The year is not divided only into varieties of suffering. Tonight the air is cool rather than dangerous. You carry wood inside and check the thatch where rain entered last week. The repair is temporary, but temporary repairs are one of civilization's oldest technologies. The fire catches, smoke rises, shadows move across walls. A modern house tries to separate its occupants from the weather. A medieval house negotiates with it every day. Once darkness settles, the work does not vanish, but its character changes. Artificial light is expensive. Tallow candles, wax candles, rushlights, lamps, and the hearth all consume materials. The poor do not sit in complete darkness every evening, but nobody illuminates an entire house without thinking about cost. Tasks move closer to the fire. Fine work waits for better light. People learn to use twilight efficiently because daylight is free. The evening meal may be larger than the morning's food, or may consist of reheated leftovers, bread, cheese, onions, fish, or pottage. Meal timing varies. What matters is that the household gathers, and gathering creates leisure almost accidentally. Stories are among the cheapest forms of entertainment. Saints, local ghosts, legendary kings, clever animals, foolish husbands, dangerous women, miraculous escapes, and recent scandals all compete for attention. A good storyteller adjusts familiar material to the audience. Children know when an exciting part is approaching. Adults know the ending and interrupt anyway. Music requires no concert hall. Voices, pipes, fiddles, drums, harps, bells, and simple instruments appear in homes, taverns, streets, courts, and churches. Work songs coordinate motion. Dance turns a feast into an event. Ballads carry news and memory. The line between performer and audience is often less rigid than it is today. Games fill quieter hours. Dice are popular enough to inspire repeated moral warnings. Board games include chess, tables, and regional variants. Knucklebones, riddles, guessing games, cards in later medieval Europe, wrestling, archery, bowls, football-like contests, and animal competitions provide recreation. Gambling can turn a friendly evening into a legal problem with impressive speed. Taverns and alehouses are social institutions. They sell drink, food, lodging, information, and opportunities for poor judgment. Travelers meet locals. Workers arrange employment. Deals are made. Songs begin. Fights also begin, often after the volume of conversation has exceeded the wisdom of its participants. Alcohol consumption can be substantial, but medieval people recognized drunkenness as a problem. Religious teaching condemns excess. Town courts punish disorder. Employers complain about absent workers. Ale quality is inspected because a bad batch affects both health and public peace. The existence of drinking culture does not mean everyone is permanently intoxicated. Festivals produce the most visible leisure. Seasonal celebrations, weddings, saints' days, fairs, harvest gatherings, and religious processions bring special food, clothing, games, and music. Young people meet prospective partners. Older people renew alliances. Children acquire memories. Authorities attempt to prevent disorder with rules that become increasingly specific because earlier rules have inspired creativity. On ordinary nights, bedtime comes earlier in winter and later in summer. You prepare bedding, bank the fire, secure doors, check animals, and place valuable objects where they can be found in darkness. A chamber pot avoids a cold journey. Shoes remain nearby. Fire is a greater fear than burglars in many households, though both are possible. Sleep is often communal. Couples, siblings, servants, travelers, and children share rooms or beds. This is normal rather than inherently intimate. Inns may place strangers together when space is limited. Great households contain servants sleeping on pallets in halls or near the people and objects they guard. Privacy exists as a desire, but not always as an architectural fact. The famous theory of universal segmented sleep, with a first sleep followed by a waking interval, and then a second sleep, should be treated carefully. Historical references show that some people understood and experienced divided nights. Especially when darkness lasted many hours, they prayed, talked, tended fires, worked, or had sex during waking intervals. But evidence does not prove that every medieval person followed one fixed biological schedule. Sleep is disrupted by babies, animals, illness, cold, noise, insects, anxiety, bells, and work. It is also deep after physical labor. The idea that everyone lies awake listening to wolves is no more accurate than the idea that modern people sleep peacefully beside glowing phones. Dreams matter. Physicians connect them to bodily condition. Clergy consider their spiritual meaning. Popular tradition treats some as warnings. Most dreams disappear after breakfast, while a few become stories repeated for years. Night makes the supernatural feel near because darkness removes familiar boundaries. Before lying down, the household prays. This may be brief, tired, sincere, automatic, or all four. A final check confirms that the fire is safe. The dog circles until discovering the exact place where someone intended to put a foot. You settle beneath blankets. The mattress is not memory foam, but it supports a body exhausted by a day of movement. Linen smells of smoke and soap. A flea may indeed appear. It is unwelcome, not culturally celebrated. The day has included work, risk, prayer, argument, trade, food, and laughter. Medieval people do not survive because they never rest. They survive partly because, whenever conditions permit, they make rest communal. Before deciding whether you could survive this life, step outside the household and look across medieval society. Your day has belonged to a modest rural family, but rank changes almost every detail. A noble wakes with better bedding, more rooms, servants, warmer clothing, richer food, and legal privileges. A castle may contain latrines, fireplaces, wash basins, glazed windows, private chambers, kitchens, stores, chapels, and carefully managed water. It can also be cold, smoky, crowded, expensive, and politically dangerous. Stone walls do not eliminate infection, family conflict, or an ambitious cousin. Noble life is not leisure without obligation. Estate management, hospitality, warfare, litigation, marriage strategy, royal service, and display consume time and money. A lord who fails to reward followers or maintain reputation can lose influence. A noblewoman manages property, households, patronage, and diplomacy, particularly during a husband's absence. Children are educated for roles assigned by lineage. Their comfort is greater. Their freedom may be smaller than it appears. Servants make elite comfort possible. Great households employ cooks, bakers, grooms, laundresses, chamber attendants, clerks, guards, pages, porters, messengers, musicians, artisans, and laborers. Service can offer regular meals, clothing called livery, training, wages, and connections. It also demands obedience and long hours. A servant lives close to wealth without owning it, which is one of history's more effective lessons in social hierarchy. An urban artisan faces different pressures. A successful master may own a house and workshop, employ apprentices, participate in civic government, and purchase imported goods. A journeyman depends on wages. A widow may continue the business. A laborer waits for hiring. Town life offers cash income and social mobility while making food, rent, and fuel more vulnerable to prices. A merchant can become wealthier than many knights. Trade families build networks across cities and seas. Letters, credit, partnership, insurance-like arrangements, and accounting support commerce. Their world is medieval too. It contains mathematics, risk management, multilingual negotiation, and people becoming anxious because a ship is late. A monk or nun enters a regulated community whose quality varies from austere to comfortable. Religious houses divide time among prayer, work, study, administration, and care. Wealthy monasteries may control huge estates and serve elaborate meals. Poor houses struggle with debt. Individual members can experience security, education, boredom, spiritual fulfillment, political influence, or all of them over a lifetime. The very poor face the hardest conditions. Landless laborers, disabled people without support, abandoned children, migrants, the elderly, and victims of harvest failure depend on wages, kin, charity, or begging. Medieval communities distinguish between the deserving and undeserving poor in ways that can be generous or cruel. Hospitals and alms offer relief, but cannot meet every need. Minority communities experience both integration and persecution. Jewish families participate in trade, medicine, scholarship, finance, and urban life, while facing legal restrictions, taxation, expulsions, and periodic violence. Muslim, Christian, Jewish, and other populations coexist in parts of the Mediterranean with complex patterns of exchange and hierarchy. Medieval Europe is not religiously or culturally uniform. Geography matters. In Italy, dense cities, commerce, and civic institutions shape life differently from scattered northern villages. Iberia contains Christian and Muslim kingdoms, frontier societies, and mixed traditions. Scandinavia, the Baltic, Eastern Europe, Byzantium, and the Mediterranean each have climates, crops, laws, and political histories that resist being treated as scenery around. France and England. Time matters just as much. The year 800 is not the year 1325. Agricultural technology, trade, towns, law, literacy, architecture, and political institutions change. The 15th century is not merely the same village wearing newer hats. A 1,000-year period cannot be summarized honestly by selecting its worst latrine, most violent court case, and least successful medical procedure. This is why the question, would you survive the Middle Ages, is incomplete. Survive where? In what century? Born into which household? With what health, skills, sex, status, religion, and luck? A modern person transported without preparation would struggle. You might not understand the language. Your immune system would meet unfamiliar pathogens, while your body could carry diseases dangerous to others. You would lack agricultural skill, social connections, legal identity, and knowledge of custom. Owning a smartphone would provide limited advantage after the battery died, although it might briefly establish you as the least useful magician in the county. A medieval infant raised in the same society would possess the knowledge you lack. Survival is not only physical toughness, it is knowing which water source is trusted, how to preserve grain when weather is changing, who owes your family help, what behavior offends the court, and which plant should not. Enter the soup. Privilege improves the odds, but knowledge makes life possible. The medieval world is harshest, not to everyone equally, but to those with the fewest resources when misfortune arrives. Our imagined day ends in 1325, but history refuses to leave the household undisturbed. Within a generation, plague will transform much of Europe. Beginning in the late 1340s, the Black Death kills on a scale so immense that ordinary comparison fails. Villages lose families, cities lose neighborhoods, clergy die while caring for the sick, trade spreads danger alongside goods, burial customs collapse under pressure. Survivors try to understand an event for which inherited medicine, prayer, civic regulation, and personal courage offer no reliable defense. The disaster exposes inequality. Wealthy people can flee, though flight also carries disease and never guarantees safety. The poor remain in crowded homes or continue essential work. Jewish communities are falsely accused of poisoning wells and suffer massacres, despite also dying from plague. Fear turns uncertainty into persecution, one of the most destructive human habits in any century. Yet the Black Death does not prove that medieval life was always a plague story. It is an extraordinary rupture, recognized as extraordinary by the people who lived through it. Chroniclers describe abandoned places, social disorder, grief, and disbelief. Their shock matters. A society accustomed to constant death would not write about this mortality as something beyond imagination. The plague also changes economic relationships. With labor scarce, surviving workers can demand higher wages in many regions. Landlords compete for tenants. Some obligations weaken. Governments attempt to control wages and movement. Workers resist. The results vary, but the balance between land and labor shifts. For some survivors, living standards improve. Diet becomes more varied. Better land becomes available. Wages rise. Clothing and household goods become more accessible. Peasant consumption expands in parts of Europe. A catastrophe can therefore produce opportunities for those who survive without becoming anything less than a catastrophe. The period also witnesses rebellion. In England, The uprising of 1381 brings rural and urban participants together against taxation and lordship. Similar unrest appears elsewhere under different conditions. Ordinary people articulate political demands, invoke law, attack records of servitude, and imagine a more just order. They are not merely enduring history, they are trying to change it. Most attempts do not abolish hierarchy. Repression is severe. Still, the late medieval world becomes increasingly mobile, commercial, and politically contested. Serfdom declines in some Western regions, while remaining strong or later intensifying elsewhere. Towns grow. Literacy spreads. Printing arrives in Europe during the 15th century. Gunpowder changes warfare. States become more administratively ambitious. Religious criticism deepens. None of these developments creates a clean doorway into modernity. They show why the label Dark Age is misleading. A society can contain brutality and creativity, disease and innovation, hierarchy and negotiation. Historical progress does not move like a staircase. It moves like a crowded road after rain, with people advancing, slipping, arguing, and occasionally taking the wrong bridge. If your household survives the plague years, its descendants may experience a different economic world. A granddaughter might earn wages in service. A grandson may leave for a town. A family could acquire land once unavailable. Another household may disappear entirely, its name surviving only in a court roll. No one reads for 600 years. This uncertainty is essential. History often tells the story of institutions because institutions preserve records. Daily life belongs to people who appear once in a tax list, once in a marriage dispute, once in a property transfer, or not at all. Archaeology recovers their cooking pots, bones, houses, tools, and rubbish. Each fragment pushes against the dramatic claim that medieval people were only passive victims of their age. They adapt after harvest failure. They rebuild after fire. They change crops, move towns, renegotiate labor, remarry, care for relatives, and teach children. Resilience does not mean suffering was harmless. It means people continued making decisions inside circumstances they did not choose. The medieval household is vulnerable because it lacks the buffers modern societies take for granted. There is no national health service, disaster insurance, refrigerated supply chain, or rapid transport network. There are instead layered defenses, stored grain, kin, neighbors, parish charity, guild funds, customary rights, diversified work, common resources, religious houses, credit, and migration. Any one defense can fail. Several working together may preserve a family. When modern storytellers say you would not last a day, they imagine survival as individual toughness. Medieval survival is rarely individual. The person alone is fragile. The household, village, guild, parish, and market form the larger organism. The tragedy of plague is not simply that bodies fail. It is that death tears holes through the networks that normally help people continue. Eventually, every medieval life ends, but not according to the simple timetable popular culture prefers. Average life expectancy at birth can fall into the 30s in many reconstructed populations, sometimes lower during crisis. That number does not mean the typical adult drops dead at 35. It combines the deaths of infants and young children with those who survive for decades. Once a person reaches adolescence or early adulthood, the expected remaining years increase substantially, though exact estimates depend on place, period, and evidence. You can therefore be 22 without feeling ancient. You may marry, raise children, complete an apprenticeship, inherit land, serve in office, or begin a career whose most important years lie ahead. People in their 40s are not miraculous. Individuals in their 60s and 70s appear in records, and a smaller number live longer. Age is experienced through health and work. A 40-year-old laborer with damaged joints may feel older than a well-fed cleric of 60. A woman who has endured repeated pregnancies carries different risks from a nun of the same age. An elite warrior faces violence. A city resident faces epidemic disease. A shepherd faces isolation and injury. There is no single medieval body. Death is familiar, but familiarity does not erase fear or grief. The dying are surrounded when circumstances permit. Priests hear confession, administer rites, and offer communion. Family members gather. Wills settle property, debts, gifts, burial wishes, and care for survivors. A good death means preparation, reconciliation, and spiritual readiness, not simply the absence of pain. Funerals vary by wealth. The rich can fund processions, candles, masses, tombs, and long remembrance. The poor may receive a simpler burial in consecrated ground. Bodies are washed, wrapped, watched, prayed over, and carried to church. Coffins are used in some circumstances, while shrouds alone are common. Graves are not usually shallow holes, dug carelessly to avoid disease. Burial follows religious and communal customs, unless war, famine, or epidemic makes normal practice impossible. Churchyards become crowded over generations. Older graves are disturbed. Bones may be collected in charnel spaces. This is not necessarily disrespect. The body has completed one stage of burial, while memory and prayer continue. Medieval Christians expect resurrection, making the treatment of remains both sacred and practical. Commemoration creates a social afterlife. Names are spoken in prayers. Gifts support anniversaries. Families maintain tombs. Guilds attend funerals. Bells announce death. The dead remain connected to the living through obligation, land, reputation, and story. For parents, the death of a child can be devastating. For a household, the death of an adult worker can also threaten survival. A widow may inherit rights but lose labor and protection. Children may enter service. Relatives absorb dependence. Land returns to a lord or passes through custom. Grief is immediately entangled with economics because the harvest does not pause for mourning. This practical pressure can make medieval responses appear emotionally restrained in official records. A court roll notes a death and a payment. An account lists burial cloth. A will distributes objects. The emotion often survives elsewhere. In a devotional gift, an unusual phrase, a reused name, or the desperate effort to secure prayers. Could you survive to old age? Possibly. Your chances improve if you survive childhood, avoid epidemic years, possess enough food, have supportive kin, and do not suffer a catastrophic infection or birth complication. They worsen with poverty, displacement, violence, and bad harvests. Luck remains a medical category. No physician can write down. Modern life has not eliminated chance. It has shifted the odds. Vaccines, clean water, sewage systems, antibiotics, safer childbirth, workplace regulation, emergency care, and reliable food storage turn former killers into manageable risks. The contrast should inspire gratitude without requiring contempt for the past. Medieval people do not die because they are too ignorant to appreciate survival. They die because knowledge and infrastructure have limits. They also live because practical knowledge, social cooperation, and human bodies are often more resilient than the nightmare version allows. At the end of your imagined day, you have not narrowly escaped death every 10 minutes. You have done something both less dramatic and more revealing. You have participated in a system of work, custom, care, and exchange that kept millions of people alive across centuries. That achievement does not make the system just. It makes the people inside it fully human. The fire is lower now, and the village has become quiet enough for distant sounds to travel. You are still alive. That conclusion may feel disappointing after so many promises that a single medieval morning would destroy you. You have not been swallowed by a sewer, executed for touching firewood, poisoned by breakfast, or declared elderly before lunch. You drank water from a trusted source. You washed. You wore layered clothing made with considerable skill. You ate bread, dairy, vegetables, grain, and ale. You worked hard, visited a market, entered a church, heard about an injury, and returned to a household that understood both cooperation and complaint. None of this means you should move here. The room is smoky. The mattress contains possibilities you would rather not investigate. Dental pain can become fatal. A difficult birth can destroy a family. A wet harvest can raise food prices beyond reach. An infected cut can defeat every healer available. Law favors status. Women face structural inequality. Minorities can become targets. A landlord's demands, a soldier's arrival, or an epidemic can undo years of careful work. The medieval world offers fewer protections against ordinary bad luck. That is the real hardship. Not a constant carnival of filth, but vulnerability. Modern life surrounds many people with systems so reliable that they become invisible. Turn a handle and clean water appears. Press a switch and night retreats. A refrigerator extends the life of food. A pharmacy contains substances developed through centuries of experiment. A damaged roof can be repaired with standardized materials. A message crosses the world instantly. These conveniences are not evidence that modern people are morally superior. They are accumulated infrastructure. Remove that infrastructure and intelligence alone will not save you. You may know that bacteria cause infection, but without clean tools, antibiotics, and trained care, the knowledge becomes a frightening description of what you cannot stop. You may understand nutrition, but understanding does not create grain after months of rain. You may value equality, but arriving without property, kin, recognized status, or useful skill leaves you dependent on the very hierarchy you dislike. The people around you possess forms of intelligence that modern comfort often hides. They read soil, weather, animal health, wood, cloth, fermentation, human reputation, and seasonal risk. They know how to repair objects because replacement is expensive. They preserve food without electricity. They remember obligations that have never been written. They identify which neighbor can be trusted with a loan and which one will return a borrowed tool only after it has become an archaeological artifact. Their knowledge is local, embodied, and difficult to download. You could bring modern facts into the village and still be useless until someone teaches you how to hold the site. That is why the question of whether you would last a day finally gives way to a better question: what allows anyone to last? The answer is not toughness alone. Medieval people are not born with stronger backs or a special immunity to discomfort. They become capable through training, habit, and support. Children learn by watching. Households divide tasks. Villages share resources. Markets connect producers. Religious institutions organize meaning and aid. Courts defend customs imperfectly. Friends intervene in fights. Neighbors carry food to the sick. The entire society is unequal, but it is also interdependent. You would struggle because you arrive alone. A person born here does not. They arrive into language, kinship, memory, and a place at the fire. Their life may be constrained by that place. It may also be sustained by it. The romantic Middle Ages of spotless castles and noble knights is misleading. So is the reverse fantasy in which every house is a disease pit and every meal a punishment. Both versions reduce the past to a costume. One dresses it in silk, the other covers it in mud. Neither listens to the people who actually lived there. Those people desired comfort. They decorated belongings. They worried about appearance. They loved children. They made jokes about authority, complained about prices, resented taxes, argued over inheritance, enjoyed music, became drunk, regretted becoming drunk, told stories, cared for wounds, feared death, and hoped the next harvest would be better. They were capable of cruelty and generosity, prejudice and curiosity, rigid custom and practical innovation. They were not waiting in darkness for modernity to rescue them. They were building institutions, technologies, and communities from the materials available, often while misunderstanding the natural world in ways that seem obvious only after later discoveries. Future centuries may look at parts of your own life with equal disbelief. They may wonder why obvious dangers were tolerated, why effective solutions arrived so slowly, and why confident people defended ideas that evidence later overturned. The distance between you and the medieval household is therefore not a distance between intelligence and stupidity. It is a distance between different resources, risks, assumptions, and accumulated knowledge. The bell will ring again before dawn. Tomorrow, grain still needs grinding. The animal enclosure needs repair. A debt must be discussed. A neighbor's wound must be checked. Someone will fetch water. Someone will bake. Someone will make a joke at the wrong moment and improve the morning for everyone except the person being mocked. The day will contain discomfort, uncertainty, and work. It will also contain ordinary competence. So, would you survive a single day in medieval Europe with no preparation, no language, no community, and no useful skill? Perhaps not for long. Given time, instruction, a household willing to accept you, and enough luck to avoid the era's greatest dangers, you might do what people have always done. You would adapt. You would learn where the clean water comes from. You would stop insulting the bread. You would discover that the wool is warmer than expected. You would understand why the market matters, why the bell matters, why the stored grain matters, and why nobody laughs when a fever lasts another night. Eventually, the medieval world would stop looking like a collection of horrors. It would look like home. Not a home you need to envy, not a home you should romanticize. A human home, built against uncertainty by people who knew that tomorrow was never guaranteed and prepared for it anyway.